Before we get into South Carolina, one more thing. I want to go overall SEC, your projections. I want to know East and West, who you've got winning the East, winning the West, SEC champion. I know Florida has been the sexy pick this offseason, but obviously with the additions to their schedule, things kind of change that. And in the West, I mean, I would say you're not wise to bet against Alabama, but, hey, maybe is this Texas A&M's year? You know, I was talking to Marler last week. Reese Davis having A&M preseason ranked 4th in his poll. And, I mean, A&M's getting a lot of love either way. They're getting a ton of hype, and justifiably so. You can definitely make a case. But just really quickly, your rundown of the West, rundown of the East, and who is your SEC champion?
Can I say something real quick on it?
Oh, go ahead. Yeah, for sure.
I've said this before throughout the offseason. I'm sure Marler has heard me say this stat like probably 20 different times. But it's the thing that gets me so fired up when talking about A&M, because I'm not here to hate on a program.
They're a very polarizing team, I feel like. Very polarizing.
They are. They're a team with one top 15 finish in the 21st century. Nobody likes to bring that up. You know, it's with the best one of the best players in college football history, Johnny Manziel. But the thing that frustrates me about A&M is because, so I see a ranking like Reese Davis, who I respect everything that Reese Davis does. My wife wants me to look like Reese Davis. I'd be lying to you if I said I wasn't wearing these glasses in part to look a little bit like Reese Davis. But putting the Aggies at number 4 after a year in which they had 5 games against top 15 teams who finished in the top 15.
Right.
That's 300 minutes of football. They led for 7 minutes and 42 seconds of that time. Look, if you're a team that's, you've been right there, you've been in the national championship conversation, I get that. We're talking about a team with, again, one top 15 finish in the 21st century, and it was with Johnny Manziel. So that's why I can't quite get there yet. When we saw last year, they just were not on the same level as those elite teams, and we saw it. I mean, they got blown out against LSU. I know against Clemson, they played Clemson tough or whatever early in the season, but they still were not able to do much of anything offensively. So that's why I can't get there with A&M. I don't have A&M winning the West. I have Alabama still winning the West. That's cliche. That's boring. The overlooked thing with Bama is that this is a team that prior to last year had never started more than one true freshman in the front 7. And at the end of September, they were in a place where they had to start 4 true freshmen in the front 7 after losing the likes of Dylan Moses. LeBron Ray went down in the South Carolina game. He was really, really coming on strong. He had a hit in that game that was just unbelievable that you should go back and watch. It's incredible. But they have so much talent returning just from injury alone in the front 7. And then, you've got guys like Shane Lee and Christian Harris that got meaningful experience for that group last year. So that's the reason that I think that Alabama's defense, while it might not necessarily look like 2012 Alabama or anything like that, I think that makes Alabama the favorite in the West and in the SEC in general. Again, that's boring. If I'm picking a team in the East right now, I'm probably going with Florida. Now, I say that before we know about there could be more opt-outs on the way, which would not surprise me at this point. There could be more positive COVID tests. That pick is subject to change.
Right.
And while I do actually have a little spoiler alert, got Georgia beating Alabama. Don't tell Marler I said that. That game, I still haven't even told him that, so this is going to be breaking news to him. But I do have Florida coming out of the division as of right now, just because I like so many of the pieces that they have coming back on offense. I think Trayvon Grimes is ready to be a star in this league. I am in the pro Kyle Trask camp. I am not necessarily buying into all the pro football focus talk about how he can't throw the deep ball, about how he doesn't make any big-time plays. I think he adjusted really well in Dan Mullen's offense, and having a full offseason or whatever this is, to be able to do that, I think he's going to be much better, especially with an offensive line that last year was not very good at Florida, and they still managed to have a team that lost their starting quarterback in September and won a New Year's Six Bowl. I think Florida's going to be really, really good this year. The schedule is tough. There might be an East winner that loses 2 games. I don't think the SEC champion is going undefeated this year. I think we can roll that out. I think even Alabama loses a game. I think in a year where you have to play 10 conference games, nobody is going to be lucky by winning the SEC this year. It's not going to happen. You're facing 10 of 13 possible SEC teams. So I think it's going to be great to watch. I'm so excited for the 10-game conference schedule. I'm a big fan of this. And while I don't necessarily think it's realistic, I would love for the league to get to a place like this moving forward where they do want to incentivize those more conference games.
Yeah, I'm the same way. I mean, I was talking again to Marler and other people about this. I'm thinking to myself, how are we going to go back to – I don't want to go back to Cupcake Weekend.
I don't either.
It's going to be great matchups every single week. And like you said, the SEC is just going to beat up on each other. I mean, it's funny. We've seen the arguments from different fan bases, and maybe some valid, some not. I mean, you could say there's some teams that got screwed in the scheduling, and then a team like Georgia who added Arkansas, Mississippi State. But when you're playing 10 of 13,
Exactly.
everybody's schedule's hard. There's no really getting around it. I found it interesting, by the way, that you said Georgia's going to beat Alabama, but Florida's going to win the East. That is an interesting pick. So I'll tell you, I've got Bama winning the West. Again, I just think that how can you bet against Nick Saban and what Alabama has? And then I think Georgia's – I like Georgia. For whatever reason, I don't know why. I want to be wrong because obviously I'm not a Georgia fan, but I've got Georgia winning the East, and I've got Georgia beating Alabama in the SEC title game. I don't know. I feel like I feel – I don't know why I'm picking that because, like, it's one of those things where until it happens, why would you pick it? But, see, I think Bama beats Georgia in the regular season. I don't think they beat them twice, though. I love Georgia's defense. I think out of JT Daniels and Jamie Newman, you're going to have an elite quarterback, Zamir White at running back, George Pickens at wide receiver. This feels like one of those years for me. If Georgia doesn't get it done this year, I mean, I feel like we say that a lot about Georgia. If they don't get it done this year, when will they get it done? But I don't know. I think Georgia's offense, if it comes together, their defense is just going to be scary. I mean, their defense is going to be one of the best in the country.
Yeah, it absolutely is. And that's the thing that's like
Georgia-Florida is going to be an epic matchup, by the way. That's
awesome.
going to be an incredible matchup.
Should be really, really good with what those two teams have from a strength standpoint.
Right.
I think that's going to be a great battle. And I think it's going to be a battle that lasts all year long. And I don't necessarily – the East might not even be decided with that game because the way that you're having 10 conference games to be able to play. And because, Florida's got the LSU game, Georgia's got the Alabama game. I don't know that it's necessarily decided in Jacksonville, but
right.
I do think there's something about Florida that if you're trying to figure out the best possible time to catch them, where Florida fans know this, it's like Todd Grantham's defense has failed multiple times against Georgia. And there is a large group of Florida fans who feel like, you know what, if Florida can't get it done against Georgia this year with how much inexperience Georgia has on that side of the ball,
right.
if they can't find ways to confuse them and different ways to dial up pressure, man, you got to let Todd Grantham go. And that's crazy because the guy's led a couple of top 20 defenses, right. But at the same time, it's almost a little bit – it could become a little bit – here's a Big Ten reference for you, like what Michigan has against Ohio State, where like Don Brown, the Michigan defensive coordinator, he leads really, really good defenses year after year, but dude can only run single high safety so many times and get torched by modern offenses like Ohio State that have five-star talent on the outside, enough for the fans to finally be like, you know what, this isn't working. We need to try something new. And I don't know if Florida fans are going to get there with Todd Grantham, but if they lose again to Georgia in a year like this, where you really got to feel like, especially after this weird offseason, where if you're a team that's inexperienced, you feel like this has been a disadvantage to you, and Florida has experience on both sides of the ball. You feel like if you're a Florida fan, this is what you could have – this is exactly the situation that you would draw up. Now, obviously, that's not going to be an easy thing, but I still come back to that sense of urgency, and I think that could ultimately fuel Florida in a different way than we've seen the last couple of years.